Hello, Opening Pathways viewers. It's good to be with you again. This is Tom Lenoble. Today I have Sean Garrett with me, and Sean is the Chief Operating Officer of Plexus Healthcare Systems. We'll learn a little bit about Plexus, but we're going to learn a lot more about Sean. Sean, welcome to Opening Pathways.
Well, thank you, Tom. I greatly appreciate the time and being here with you today.
It's good to have you with us. I want to start right at the beginning about learning a little bit about Plexus and how you got on the path with Plexus.
Uh, it's a startup software company, and I say startup in 1996. The founder of the company, who's still the founder and CEO today, he and I worked together in 91 in San Francisco. He hired me as a technical leader at one of the largest law firms in San Francisco, and he was the director, CIO there. And a year later, he came up to Southern Oregon and was doing some different things. We kept in contact, and a few years later, he started the company. And in its second year, he realized he needed someone to come in and kind of help create an implementation for us for the software. We serve the health insurance administrative industry, and uh, and thought of me. And even though we hadn't worked together at this time in 6 years, he thought Sean's guy. I would like to come and help get this thing off the ground. And he spoke with me. It sounded like a very interesting, challenging opportunity, and I really like the idea of helping will this thing into existence. So I moved my family from Northern California up to Southern Oregon, right over the border, and it was a better location for my family. I wasn't commuting 3 hours a day to downtown San Francisco like I had been throughout the 90s. And 28 years later, the founder is still our founder and CEO, and he's involved, but he's more part-time and he's pursuing other passions. And myself and the CFO tend to run the day-to-day of the company and help lead the operations.
How have you changed since you've been at Plexus in this role? What's happened with Sean? What's changed?
Quite a bit. I've learned a lot. I tend to be a student of the business of whatever pursuit in the business. I started out as a vice president of operations, so it's really about creating IT, client support, technical support, and implementation staff for our software for the client. So I was essentially running the client engagements. Over time, I took over sales and marketing. I took over product strategy. So I had never run a sales department before, so I was becoming a student of the business. And I like duplicatable, repeatable systems. So we latched on to Miller Hyman strategic selling, right? And to this day, that's the process I use for strategic consultative selling. So did that for many years, and then got into product strategy and product management, product ownership. And we hadn't really formalized that as a software company, which we should have. So now I put that into effect with the company. So these days I have about 80% of the company that reports up through me. And so we're constantly updating the operations, but how it's affected me is it's enabled me to learn a lot more different aspects of running a company, running a business. And then my management style, I'm dealing with many different types of people. Historically, I've dealt with technical people. These days, I'm dealing with many different types of software developers, which are different than other technical people or implementation folks, clients working with many different levels of end users of the clients all the way up to the C-suite. I tend to be the main strategic account rep for our C-suite of any of our clients. So they tend to have me on speed dial. So responding to them, responding to our clients in general, the employees, but it's caused me to have to balance things that my life, work life balance. It's caused me to help prioritize, to be empathetic, both to my employees who are getting under the gun to get something done, now to a client that needs it, to the clients who their business relies on our software, and there's a government mandate change. The stuff rolls downhill, so it goes from the government to the client to the vendor, and so how we respond to them, and letting them we hear them. So a lot of different areas. These days I'm focusing on there's survivor and thriver, and I'm focused on being a thriver and going from thriving to ascension. Ascension is ascending to above and beyond where I've been. So And that's more on the personal goals and personal pursuits based on personal experiences outside of Plexus, but it directly applies, to how I think and act and work to respond and not react,
Yeah,
to
yeah.
life's challenges.
Who believed in Sean before Sean believed in himself?
My mother, my mother. I'm the youngest of 12,
Wow.
and so well there wasn't 12 by the time came around. My parents had already lost kids. So that was the beginning when they gave me the confidence throughout my childhood and going into high school. She was always in my corner. Um, and then from then on, I started working. I've been in management in every position I've had since 17. So my first job in high school was Kentucky Fried Chicken. I ascended to assistant manager, and I got number one district assistant manager in our district through this contest we had, and so that gave me confidence throughout. But from that point forward, the gentleman that hired me here at Plexus, who hired me at the law firm, he had a lot of confidence in me based on my resume and my interview at the time in 1991. And in 92, he left. And in 96, he called me back after, we hadn't worked together in 5, 6 years, or 98, excuse me. So throughout, I felt like if I could always do a good job, maintain a good attitude with my employee or my colleagues, my managers, whoever we were serving customers, then I was going to do okay. So
Yeah, yeah. Tell me this, what values have guided you from the start? What personal values?
integrity, accountability, respect. Those top three. Have integrity in everything we do. Myself, our company, our employees. Accountability. Have accountability. If you oops, acknowledge it. Don't try and shift blame to everyone else or someone else other than yourself. That's a big pet peeve of mine when I see people in quote unquote leadership that do that. And I've worked with a few, not just the Plexus, but other places too. Respect. Maintain a respect, not just for others, your employees, your colleagues, your clients, for yourself. So those are the top three that come to mind.
Yes, I love that. Thank you so much. And I'm curious to know now, Sean, this is very helpful to the viewers to hear some of the things you're sharing and some of the experiences you've had. Um, Tell me this. Um, how do you recognize when fear is information versus a stop sign?
That's a great question. And a year ago, I probably given you a different answer. Um, recognizing, taking a step back and recognizing when you're getting anxious. Is that more, is that a fear for which you'll react? That is a stop sign versus respond, calm down, and say this is information, and how much can it hurt me? Is it truly a fear versus information? So it for me these days it's reacting versus responding, or excuse me, responding versus reacting. And reaction, you're reacting out of that fear, the anxiousness, versus taking a second, take a breath, and then respond. And then in that moment recognize that yes, it is information. That was not always easy for me to do. I mean, it's a practice. It's an ongoing practice. I'm not perfect by any means, but gone through a lot of things, both with professional and personal life, that's caused me to look at myself, my patterns, my background, digging all the way down into my childhood, uh, to see where this may have come from, and then coming back up and connecting the dots, say, and so there's definitely been anxiousness and fear based thinking in my past, and there always will be. I mean, people say that every decision you make is based on fear. A fear of of losing your job, fear of not being able to provide, a fear of, and so it's when you look at it that way, it's like, okay, well, how can I transfer this to be more of a it's information and not let it affect me fear wise.
Yeah, I'd love to say on here that I've learned through the years that fear is simply an opportunity for growth. It's just something new, and often we forget the evidence of what we've been through and what we've accomplished when we're presented with something that makes us fearful. And fear has an interesting word to some people. I just wrote an article today that I'm anxious to get put up and launched about the fear of fear. So we'll see how that goes over when it happens. We make risky decisions. We take a lot of risks sometimes in our job. Um, Tell me about a decision you made that looked wrong to everyone else, but felt right to you and you followed through on it.
I can think of a few. The one that stands out the most is as a software company, we've never been venture backed. We've been bootstrapped and we've been successful, which is awesome. Everyone in our space has gone through some M&A or taken venture capital, private equity money, and we haven't. I'll say yet. At some point, that may happen. But we were going through a downturn at one point. We had lost a big client, and that was a huge chunk of revenue. And we saw it coming, but we didn't have enough time to backfill it with new sales. So our then COO, I was leading product strategy, was moving on, taking another role with another company. And, he and our founder talked about me taking over as COO at that point. Cool. And one of the first decisions I had to make was one of our executives had to go or take a cut and pay. And the clear choice was the newest guy, but the newest guy had more experience than an established person who I hired many years prior, and she had ascended to a VP role, and he had come in a different role, but he was putting forth a lot of things that was helping that were helping in her department more so than she was doing. Not because she wasn't a good person or a lazy person. Her focus was kind of elsewhere, and it was like, oh, thanks for the help. Well, when I thought of if we let him go as a new guy, we're going to go back to where we were, and we're making a lot of progress with his suggestions. And I made a decision that moving him into her role and then putting her in a different role that she had used to be in, that she thrived in, but she was going to have to take cut and pay. That was difficult. This person is a friend of mine that I was having to do this, but it was a very difficult decision. She understood it. We ended up going that route. And then ultimately, within a couple months, she had moved on and said, I actually don't want to be in this role. We're still friends to this day. And she and her husband started something else, and they're thriving with what they're doing. But that was difficult. But it was a
Yes,
bold choice. It needed it for the time, given the situation, it was the best thing to do at the time.
we get to make those difficult decisions sometimes.
Yeah.
Tell me this, Sean, what impact are you most proud of? Not publicly, not professionally, but personally.
Um, sorry. A few years ago, I went through a medical event and almost passed away. And when I was out, I was in the hospital for a month and slowly came back part-time, then full-time. I had so many employees saying, you're the reason I stuck around. And I was questioning whether I was going to stick around if you weren't here. It's like, but the company's still going to be here and the company's great. And so just hearing that, I clearly had some impact. It blew me away. So that's one that comes to mind.
I love that. Yeah, it says a lot about who you are, Sean. What boundary has become essential to your sustainability?
That integrity and accountability thing I spoke to earlier. Um, uh, I have very low tolerance for folks that can't acknowledge their role in something um, in a negative situation. I shouldn't say I don't have tolerance. I won't choose to invest my energy there. um, that's a huge one. On the respect thing personally, I've gone through 2 divorces, and they were the best decisions. I'm amicable with both people, but with one of them in particular, there was a huge series of disrespectful situations, and so that was I'd rather cut it and go our separate ways. I'm all about trying to mend and stay loyal, but professionally and personally. But when there's that, there's not two parties trying, then that's a boundary. That one, one of many, I would say. We're one of few I would say I have.
How has your definition of service changed over time?
Maybe considering transactional versus strategic. Transactional service, like a vendor serving a customer, it's a transaction based. But over time, and same with your personal relationships, family, friends, partners. Service, yes, I mowed the lawn. I went and got the groceries versus being in service of the other person, of their growth, of their goals. And same with our clients. We say when our clients succeed, we succeed. So it's not just providing the service, the software, the technical support. It's providing the information on how they can grow their business. We get a request for a proposal for a certain service. Well, we provide the software, but our client provides the service, and we're giving them, prospective clients, how do we help them? So it's above and beyond just they pay for this service, so that's all they get. No, it's thinking about how they can win, how they can grow. Well, and same with our partners, our kids, whatever.
Yeah. We do a lot of measuring and we have lots of metrics, lots of data we track in our businesses. I'm curious, what is something you have intentionally stopped measuring?
Do I stop measuring? There's things I prioritize less, which maybe it's stop measuring. Um, not being negatively affected by if we didn't get a sale, if we didn't. It used to be huge for me what other people thought. That is something that's less important to me these days. I wouldn't say I was measuring it, but it's something I prioritize far less these days. I know who I am. I know my intentions are well spirited, well intended. I'd give that one more thought, but I don't want to take up too much time. So
Yeah. Tell me this. What's Sean's boldest vision of what comes next for him?
man, this whole AI thing has changed everything from impacting everything everyone does in the world. So for our company in particular, it's opened up a lot of doors for where we could go. So and I say that I leave that. That's not the only thing I'm thinking. But I'm thinking of how it can help propel the company even further forward, and then propel me personally. If the company succeeds further, I can pursue my retirement earlier. I can still stay connected to help the company while pursuing personal things with my partner. Definitely more travel and so forth. One of the things I'm really encouraged, my son-in-law is in a different space, but he's in electronic finance, and there's some overlap with what we do. And he's been hinting around the edges over the last couple of years about maybe we should start a company together that takes the best of what he's done and the space that I know and create something. And he mentioned it the other day, and I thought seriously for the first time, actually, yeah, that I think we could do that. And I feel very confident. And part of it's AI, part of it's just like, I'm ready to start transitioning my role and duties at Plexus to others. And we have some other people coming up, and maybe I could pursue this other thing. So it's just an exciting time, both professionally and personally for me.
So tell me this, what does renewal look like for Sean beyond just resting or a day off? What renews you?
New experiences. I have a new partner in my life, and so there's a renewal there. one of the things I've said to our CEO recently, and then to the management staff as well, is our company, we're in our 30th year. I've been here 28 out of 30 years. And it seemed like a renaissance for us. We have newer staff coming in. We have older folks that have been with us 20 plus years that are retiring this year. We have newer product coming in the door. It's like a renaissance time. For me personally, it feels like a renaissance time as well. So when I think of the renewal, rebirth, there's a whole set of things in life. Big part is my thinking, my perspective. Like I said, from survivor on the medical event side to thriver to ascension. So renewal on a daily basis is listening to something new, something I haven't heard before, a podcast, whatever, a different way of thinking, a different way of looking at something. I'm getting now almost inundated on a daily basis with ideas that people are coming to, management with at the company, with AI, we could do this thing. Right now, this thing we've always wanted to do, it's so much quicker and easier. Here's a prototype. I've been waiting 20 years for that, So just that the renewal of the ideas that are coming forth on the prospects of what could be is invigorating for me. So between work and then taking a step back, relaxing, meditating, and I teach martial arts. I've been in 46 years in martial arts.
Wow.
And so I still run a club. In addition to everything else I do, I still run a club and just teaching. It's the one thing I do and the one place I'm at where everything else leaves my mind. I don't think about work once, family issues, relationship issues, anything else, because I'm in the zone, if you will. And so that's what we know every time, I teach a class. So
Amazing. So what wisdom have you earned that couldn't have been learned from a book?
Wisdom comes from experience. I've got a lot of different experiences with entrepreneurial companies, with having to wear many hats. But as far as wisdom, I think for me, it's been as simple as, and it's difficult for a lot of people, the golden rule, do unto others, especially with your employees and your clients. Show them you're in it with them. You're in the trenches with them. Whether I'm a leader of a company, I'm in the trenches with the individual contributors and in the trenches with my client, helping them solve their problems. And when they see that, it goes back to the service thing. It'll all work out. Whatever the issue is, it'll all work out. And at the end of the day, you'll have built a huge trust, with the people that are helping you serve your clients with the clients themselves. And we've had clients come back to us. People have left a client and they go to another company. They recommend us. We've had clients say, "Oh, we're not going to buy your software now. We're going to build it ourselves. We're going to go with this other vendor." Only to come back a couple of years later. We always liked what we heard from you. We trust you. And so we're coming back to you, and then we get the sale. And so that means a lot. And I want to espouse that to everyone at our company, is that service at the end of the day, you're never going to go wrong by serving, whether it's your peers, your colleagues, or your clients.
Yes, yes, yes. What does legacy mean to you at this stage of life?
The positive impression you leave and the impact. Will someone else say, I can honestly say my life is different, hopefully better for having known or interacted with Sean. So it goes back to family, friends, colleagues, employees, and clients. And so if I do everything I just said about serving, then I think I'll have left a positive legacy. My extended martial arts family just went to an event, the Great Grandmaster's 90th birthday party. Guys still cranking. Tons of people there, people I've known for 40 plus years. And I bring my new partner there. First time she's met them. And she was telling me afterward, no one had anything bad to say about you. Everyone said, how great you are and da, 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 da. And it's like, I'm just being me, but cool. Great.
Yeah.
Um, so it's leaving that positive impression due to the service. You're always there for them, your family, your friends, work,
Yeah.
whatever.
Tell me this, what has become more important to you as you've grown older?
Definitely less material things. I've had the material things. I've pursued different hobbies that were not cheap, but I don't need to do that anymore. Experiences are far more important. With my grown kids, I don't have grandkids yet, but I have adult children. Maintaining that connection with my family, siblings, nephews, nieces, maintaining that connection, um, and then imparting knowledge and wisdom to the newer class of employees that are coming up,
Hmm.
that are going to be running the company for the next 30 years. So
Yes, that's a good one. I think we have that responsibility. I know I've had the good fortune of working with a number of generations, and sometimes those of us that are older um, judge versus mentor. And I think we're here to mentor. And I think when we do that role versus the judging, we just might learn something. So
yeah.
tell me this, Sean, if a very, very, very young Sean were watching this podcast that we're recording today, what would you tell him?
Like I said earlier about the service, you can't go wrong in service, in providing service, yeah, and being respectful. Always maintain your integrity and accountability. There's the theme here on what I put out. Um, and trust in yourself, trust in your intuition, because that's what you've done. That's what I've done thus far, and it's led me down some good roads, and has provided, you know even in hindsight, that was a mistake in correcting that mistake. Not saying too long once I realized of a quote unquote mistake. So trust in your instincts, um, and golden rule: do unto others. At the end of the day, do
Yeah,
unto others, regardless of what attacks may come.
yeah. Lots of wisdom in that. Let me ask you this. I'm curious, what question do you hope people will ask you more often?
It could be about decision making. What factors did you use when making a decision, versus just what would you do, yes or no type of thing. Would you consider? Um, so, like for training managers on the decision making process and how to put those factors and weighting and priorities. But what, again, I want to give that one a little more thought. But I'll leave it at that right now.
Okay, that's good. That's good. You know, you've been on this journey with Plexus now for a while. I'm curious, Sean, what have you learned about trust?
First thing is about trusting yourself and your instincts. Second thing is, don't make assumptions about someone's intent. Verify with them. We make stories in our head about, well, they're just doing that because of this. Are they? Do you know that? Have you verified that? Um, I two key business books that I enjoyed reading. Well, three: Speed of Trust, Covey, and Winning, Jack Welch, and then the 4 Ds, 4 disciplines of execution. Trust is a main theme in all of them. Trust and candor. And so, maintaining, developing, nurturing, maintaining trust is synonymous with respect in a lot of ways. And so, what one of the key things I've learned is, in building trust, is you have to lower your defenses, and then and assume there's 1% of truth in what they're saying. And then you have, a conversation that's not built on defense, where the walls are going up. Now, as soon as you stop talking, that walls come down, and I'm going to let you have it. So, but you have to trust in their intent and where they're coming from. And that's what's real for them. Even if the reality seems different to you. Be curious, and not judgmental.
You've shared a lot of wisdom with us today, Sean. Thank you so much. Tell us a bit about Plexus again and how we can find you.
Appreciate that. We say Plexus healthcare system, but we're not really a healthcare system. We're a software system that is a financial accounting system for health insurance administration. It's essentially the back office software to pay those healthcare bills or claims as they come in from the doctor. So when you get an EOB, explanation of benefits, that says, "Oh, you got this service on this date, and we paid this much, you might owe that much," that's from the insurance company using software like ours. So that's what we do. We provide that software to well over 100 companies worldwide, mostly in the US, but we have international clients as well, government clients, commercial clients. And so we, again, been around 30 years this year, and our website is plexushealth.com. So www.plexushealth.com. And we've got a lot of new killer things coming for our clients, and just looking at things differently these days. And it's really neat to see.
Love this. So, Sean Garrett, Chief Operating Officer of Plexus Healthcare Systems. Thank you for being on Opening Pathways today.
Thank you very much, Tom. It's been a pleasure. It's been enlightening. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. And to my viewers, this is Tom Lenoble. I'll see you next time.